It is important to remember that there is a common denominator to Zen, Buddhism, I Ching, and all Eastern religious or philosophical backgrounds. None of them believes in the existence of a personal God. None of them believes that we can address him as Father. All of these, however, are trying to establish a quest for truth or establish an identification with this unknowable essence. They cannot define God, since God is the great unknowable. They claim unity with some kind of unknowable nature. They use Hindu philosophical terms because Buddhism was derived from Hinduism. While frequently regarded as a new religion, it is, strictly speaking, only a reformation of Brahmanism, Hinduism, and cannot be understood without some knowledge of the conditions preceding it. The religious system of India, as outlined in its oldest religious books, the Vedas, had reached in the Ramanas and Sutras a degree of ritualism such as perhaps never existed elsewhere. This formalism produced a revolt, and from time to time arose various teachers, philosophers, and reformers, of whom the most influential was Buddha. We become lost in a maze of terminology when God is reduced to an unknowable essence. What do we mean when we talk about God? Can we talk about God as subject and object relationship? Do we talk about God as I and thou? No, these religions do not talk about God in this way. They do not talk about God as a person. They sometimes use personal terms, but God is not a person. They behold God when they behold themselves, because all creation shares in their understanding of God. Reality to them is grounded in us as human beings. It is not grounded in God, and certainly not grounded in his divine revelation, the Bible. If you go to Japan, you can hear a song that sounds familiar to most Christians' ears. It sounds like, "Jesus loves me, this I know, for the Bible tells me so." But if you know anything about Japanese Buddhism, then it is the Buddha whom we know.
Replied, "Watch out that you are not deceived, for many will come in my name claiming, 'I am he,' and 'the time is near.' Do not follow them."
That is a very important verse. A cult is a group of people gathering around somebody's interpretation of religious truth, which inevitably claims to be in accord with historic Christianity. But it always ends up denying the centrality of the message that Jesus Christ is incarnate deity. Jesus sought to save the world, not himself. Buddha began by saving himself and then taught the world. The aim of Jesus is faith and individual existence in heaven in the presence of God. The summum bonum of Buddha is knowledge and the annihilation of self in nirvana. In the face of such essential divergencies, the parallels alleged to exist between Buddha and Jesus seem to be cases of accidental coincidence, and it is almost certain that despite the travel between Palestine and India, which may have influenced to some degree the apocryphal Gospels on the one hand, and late northern Buddhism on the other, Christianity and Buddhism developed to all intents and purposes independently. If we really want to deal with the problems of the East, we ought to go there and see what these religions have produced. If you really want to understand Buddhism, if you really want to understand Hinduism, if you really want to understand Zen, if you really want to understand all of these sects and cults that have been imported into the United States, then go and look at what they have created over their thousands of years of existence, enslaved and impoverished peoples. It is through their imitation of Christianity and our pioneering within the context of the parable of the Good Samaritan that they have begun to reach out to the needs of others. There is an imitation of the methodology of Christianity, not the content, but the methodology. Pragmatically, something in Christianity works. The religions of the world and the cultic structures of the world recognize that. They are taking Christian terminology and pouring their theology into the mold of our terminology. Then it is sold to the Western world quite successfully. Zen Buddhism, for example, is engineered and designed to be an appeal to the Western mind. Nirvana, what every Buddhist is seeking, is reaching a state of enlightenment of the soul or spirit until you are at last absorbed totally in the cosmic consciousness. The Buddhists supposedly attained this. This is the most desirable of all states. Buddhists say that this is something in the future for the individual, whereas Zen teachers make it available now. However, in your quest for spiritual reality, you can sit cross-legged on the floor and contemplate stones, pools of water, or even a spider's web, but you will never truly understand what is wrong with you until you recognize that man fell from his state of fellowship with God in Eden. Genesis chapter 3. That fall or separation from God is not remedied by looking inside yourself. That fall is remedied by looking outside of yourself to God, who in Jesus Christ on the cross reconciled the world to himself. In these Eastern cultic structures, everyone is looking within. In Christianity, God would have us look out to the cross of Jesus Christ and to his resurrection. That is our deliverance through faith in Jesus Christ.